Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Things That Matter with Marty McNabb. As many of you know by now, I think I'm going on almost a year and a half of this podcast, that I love the stories that get attached to the things that we surround ourselves with, the things that we have in our pockets, the things we have in our bags, the things that we wear on our bodies, the things that we've inherited from our ancestors, whether we knew them or not, and also the things that are left behind from the loved ones that have passed away, and a little piece of them is connected to these things that we have in our homes and our offices. So today's guest, I I learned of her and her work through a wonderful program called the 333 Collective, which is part of our friends Diana Place's third act quest. And this is a community for women in their third act, quote unquote, 50 plus, who have really embraced a life of adventure and curiosity. I think that's the one thing that all of us have in common in the community is just a fascination and a curiosity about life and people and your own life, like what makes me tick? Why do I do this? Why does this matter? So I am so grateful to have met Lisa Arnold of Lisa Arnold Photography, who's joining us today to share a thing that matters to her. So without further ado, I am bringing Lisa up, quote unquote, on stage to share what she brought for show and tell. So take it
Well,
away, Lisa.
thank you, Marty. As a photographer, it's not going to be any surprise that I brought my camera. My camera has brought me to so many places physically, in a sense, but more just along my life. The ability and the artistry and the world opening experience of photographing people has really touched me so deeply. And it started so long ago. I wish I had the first camera that I ever bought. It was just this really cheap, it was a return item in a store. And I knew nothing about photography, nothing. And I was messing with it and I realized that it had a timer. That's how little I knew. I didn't even know what a timer was. And so I just took a picture of myself and the product, the end result was not great. It was blurry, it was all of that. But it was fascinating when I got it back. It was in film. That's how long ago it was. It was fascinating to see myself as others did. I was about 17, and as is often true at that age, we don't, and honestly, any age, we don't really see ourselves the way others do. So I remember looking at this picture and feeling like, oh, I'm not as weird looking as I thought. Like I'm fine. I'm just normal. And that really made me fall in love with photography. And it's been such an honor to be able to do that for other people, to show them what I see in them and what others see in them too. So the process has been incredible. In fact, I used to do the wedding scene, like every photographer everywhere. And one bride, this is when I was living in St. Louis, she booked me, but she called crying a few months before the wedding was to start. She'd been looking through her own photos and was certain she would look terrible in her wedding photos. And she was one of these Barbie beautiful, like the traditionally beautiful women. And it occurred to me, oh, this is everybody. Everybody has these insecurities. So I gifted her a portrait session and we just got together and played. And the result was by the time she left, this woman who walked in crying and nervous by the end of the session, she was outside in downtown St. Louis on Washington Avenue in her wedding dress, just dancing down the street.
Oh,
And I realized this is what I want to do. I want to show women their beauty. And having the tool to do that has opened my eyes. And it's given me the ability to connect with people in such an intimate way.
yeah.
And it brings real joy and such gratitude to my life.
Oh, my goodness. That is beautiful. And it sounds like you, it, the pathway to that place that you got was through, um, through your own ability to see yourself.
It was through the effort to see myself. It took a really long time. It didn't happen with that first picture
Mhm.
because I think that those thoughts that we have about ourselves are so deep rooted. They're really tough to get out. And then on top of that, we have all of the messaging that we hear that contributes to that, those thoughts. So that's kind of a constant thing. And it's probably something, to be honest, that I would do well to spend more time on. But my interest is more in helping other women do that.
Uh-huh.
Um, the results is just, it's just so beautiful to
Yeah.
create these legacy portraits, something that they could pass on to their families. Um, Portraits of them with their children, and then as their children grow with them and their grown children, and then their grandchildren, to have these images that are more than just pretty pictures.
Yeah.
They are me being able to show them their beauty. And it's, like I said, it's such an honor and it's such a gift to me to be able to do that, to be allowed into that space, that really, really vulnerable space,
Yeah.
and to be a part of that. It's a gift.
Yeah. And it seems, I mean, that's why it was perfect to have you on Things That Matter, because I'm all about legacy work, with
Yes.
these things that are important, that, like I said, that people surround themselves with at all times, and they have a story. And so you hear over and over again in the media, especially with the Marie Kondo thing of
Mm.
the downsizing and minimalism and everything, is that, don't need all of these things. And I agree to an extent, but and that they say, "Oh, your children won't want these things." And there's a part of it that is true as well, but they certainly don't want the things without the stories, because they have no meaning without the stories.
Mm.
So my hope is actually the legacy is not as much the photographs that you take, but the stories that they tell, right? And the legacy is not only that particular woman feeling beautiful and feeling seen and feeling dancing down the street in their wedding dress, that transformation actually is not just for them but also for their family, right? So that
Yes.
their girls, the rest of their family feel like they're beautiful.
Yes. Yes to all of that. And I feel very much like you said, not only because they'll be able to look at this beautiful picture of their mom, but if that seed has been planted in their mom, that her beauty is who she is right now. Imagine the impact that that will have in her communication with everyone around her.
Yes.
Because I don't believe the work I do is going to undo what I consider to be the propaganda of the beauty industry. I'm not that delusional. But everyone I work with, I I just get to show them the side of them that those who love them most see, And if they can feel that and they can then push that back out into the world and share that, every little seed grows into something. And
Yeah.
I would love for that to be a continuation.
Ah, I'm sure it is. I am sure it is. I have absolutely no belief otherwise that this
Oh,
is
thank you.
powerful transformational work that you're doing and important healing work in the world. So thank you for that. And I look
Thank you.
forward to um, uh, Lisa is also going to be one of the presenters or speakers at Diana Place's first annual celebration and conference called Quest 2024 that is happening in Bristol, Rhode Island, May 6th and 7th of this year.
Great.
And I encourage anyone who's listening who's a woman who's passionate about this stage of our lives and is curious and wants to meet other people, other women who are embracing this third act, to check out Quest 2024. All our information will be in the show notes. And I'm super excited about spending more time with you and having you hopefully not be slotted in at the same time as I am for my breakout session,
Oh,
so I can get to yours, Lisa. That would be lovely.
I
Um,
would love that. And I'm not in a breakout session, so anyone who wants to go,
oh,
I'm just presenting.
fantastic. So I won't end up having to, not get to your session. It will be
Oh,
available to everybody. That's fantastic. I haven't been following the schedule so closely because it
that's
seems
a
to be
lot.
changing a little bit.
A
We've got
lot.
21 speakers, over 20 speakers, and who are doing both talks and breakout sessions. So
Yes.
check that all out. And one last question two last questions, but the one that related to your show and tell
Mhm.
is, have you thought about what you would like to have happen with this thing that matters, your your camera, um, when you're no longer here, when you have passed away?
Yes. In fact, I have very few items. I am one of those who, if it doesn't serve me, off it goes. But this serves me not only in the building of my business, but in everything I've just described. And I have a great niece. I have no children of my own, but I have a great niece. She's 13. And I I feel as though to say that it's a tool is accurate, but it's also somewhat limiting. It's a way of seeing the world too. So whether she uses it for portraiture or she loves horses or whatever, to be able to express who she is and what she sees, it is meant to go to her, as is all of my photographic equipment. If she wants it, it's hers.
Aw, and how old is she, Lisa?
She's 13. She's 13.
Wow. So she's just at that age where she's exploring possibilities and things like that,
Yes.
right?
And curious about everything. And
Ah,
if she uses it once and decides she doesn't love it, it's okay. She'll do something with it. But to be able to have that, to, to have it at her disposal and to see the world a little bit differently in her through her own eyes. And if she chooses to also reflect others' beauty to them.
yeah. I think what's fascinating about in you just talking about um, perspective, right?
Mhm.
Um, and being behind the camera as opposed to in front of the camera, those kinds of things. It kind of reminds me, I was just on another podcast called The Teaching Journeys with Dave Roberts, who is a psychologist, who we spoke about the stories that get attached to things. So there's a concept of linked objects, objects that somebody that you loved held on to, like the
Oh,
camera, and that there's something that gets attached to that thing kind of through you. And
yes.
but he was talking about what I've seen at my events, my live story sharing events called Show and Tales that I've been hosting for over a decade. And what if seeing the transformation, seeing the a healing aspect. It's not therapy, but it's therapeutic. And it
Hmm.
seems like that's very similar to the work that you're doing. It's therapeutic work. And what when I was describing the experience that I watch, hundreds and hundreds of people have done these. I've hosted 250 of them. Is
Wow.
that I actually see what I see is that by having to tell the story, often in front of strangers or not their closest friends, gives them perspective on their story.
Mm, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you're saying with your niece looking through a camera gives you again a perspective on life. And
Yes.
I and and makes you realize that it's not always the way like what you came up you're not the way you think you look like
Yes.
it gives you and that gives you that little wiggle room to end up changing your perspective or your narrative, your story to an extent. So about
Yes.
yourself. So that's fascinating. I hadn't put all of those together until you started talking about that with your niece.
And because our experiences, of course, form our perspective, it affects what you see as well. I did a road trip a few years ago and I ended up just spontaneously driving across the country. And the the fine art images that have nothing to do with portraiture that come from that, Google will remind me, oh, it's been 2 years since you were at this place and this place. And just looking at them, the way that we know that imagery can bring us places, it brings us back to the the feelings, the awe that we had or the fear that we had, whatever it might be, to be able to be part of the creation of those images. I just I just think it's almost miraculous to be able to take what you see and hold it in the way that you see it
Yeah.
for, well, an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful. Yes. Hold it indefinitely. I love that.
Mm.
I love that. So now is the section where I invite you to tell my listeners and watchers where they can find your information and how they can learn more about you and the work that you do. Yes, tell it's
It's
your
easy.
time.
I make it easy. My name is Lisa Arnold, so it's lisaarnoldphotography.com. Instagram is the same, Lisa Arnold Photography with dots in between. So lisa.arnold.photography. And that's really it. And then what I would say, if anyone wants to talk about how they want to be seen, which is the question around which my business, my portrait business, has been built, having that conversation is powerful. It is very powerful. How do you want to be seen? And it's not about, no one gets to decide that for you. Not the beauty industry, nobody. You get to decide that. So that kind of conversation, if you're interested in that, let's talk. I would love to have that conversation.
Yeah. And I already, in just talking with you a little bit, end up thinking you'd be a person that I'd feel safe having that conversation with.
Oh, thank you. That's highest praise.
Yeah.
Highest praise. Yeah.
So thank you. And also thank you for making it easy. I have some people that come on and they're like, I have these different accounts and
Oh, I have more, but really nobody's going to remember a whole list. We try to make it easy. Yeah.
but they can find it all on your website.
Yes, they
And
can.
yes,
Yes,
so that's the
absolutely.
best part. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I know this was a little challenging getting this date set, but I'm glad that we were able to do it because I want to get this episode out soon so that we can together promote your work my work, which if you want if you would like to have a private or a corporate story sharing gathering about the things that matter, you can always reach out to me because I absolutely love hosting events that get people to share a little piece of their personal history, their life story with one another through the objects that they have around them. So please reach out to me about that. And then, of course, our lovely friend Diana Place
Mm.
has been it was a while ago, I think over a year ago, that she was a guest on my podcast. So I hope maybe I'll have her back again, but her lovely event, which I'm so excited to be a part of, and with Lisa and 20 others or 19 others
Mhm.
who will be leading. And then let's see, I think around 70 or 80 other women who are going to come and experience these 2 days of information and connection building and community and creating our legacy. So I'm excited about that. It's Quest 2024, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. And thank you so much, Lisa.
Marty, thank you. Thank you for having me as a guest. And as I've listened to you a couple of times talk about what you do, it's clear that this is your gift to people, and it's such an intimate one. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And you have a wonderful day. And
You
everyone
too.
listening, you have a great day too. And we'll see you at the next episode of Things That Matter with Marty McNabb.
Thank you.
Take care.